Hey, everybody. Well, here they are, our featured guests. So great to see all of you. Thank you for all being with us today. Look who's here, Jason Cook. It's amazing to see you. Although I saw you last night, we'll talk about that in a minute. But you all know him from his work on Days of Our Lives and General Hospital. But he's been doing feature films as a writer, director, and Four for Fun is his latest film, which is what we're going to talk about tonight, plus more. Brytni Sarpy is here. You know her as Elena on Y&R and from General Hospital and Four for Fun. We'll talk to you shortly. And Jacob Young, all the way from Charleston.
Charleston,
Charleston.
Charleston.
So nice to see you again. Jacob is in Four for Fun. And of course, we know him from General Hospital, Bold and the Beautiful, All My Children, right?
And a couple crossover
Cover
soaps.
crossover soaps, too. Well, first of all, I want to tell everybody that I sat next to Jason Cook last night.
I'm sorry.
I No, actually, it was really interesting sitting next to him because he's the writer and director of the film, Four for Fun. And we're all at this screening last night at the Golden State Film Festival, which was a packed room, which was amazing. And I was sitting next to Jason, and I love that Jason was laughing at his own film. He was enjoying some of the performances and the lines, right, Jason?
I was,
What
yeah.
was it like seeing it in the theater? Have you seen it in the theater with people already? Has this already happened
I
or
have.
okay?
Yeah. So it's screened a couple times in the past couple years, really selectively. But I really enjoy seeing this movie with an audience, especially audiences that are not friends, family, cast, crew. Although there were some there last night,
You don't
obviously.
consider me a friend?
I consider you a friend and Brittany both a friend and like the star of the movie. But yeah, it's really fun to listen to it and experience it with an audience that I don't know that hasn't seen it before. And honestly, I haven't gotten tired of the movie because the performances were just so amazing. I'm sure we'll talk more about it, but it was a really high level of difficulty to
I was
pull this movie off, and it's a pleasure to watch it, sing on screen. So it's yeah.
I was just as an audience member and watching it. Dominic Patton was wonderful. Annika Foster was wonderful, and Jacob and Brittany were okay.
There's always got to be a weakest
If
link
only.
somewhere.
Okay. Oh no, they were great. Everybody was great. I mean, and it is such an actor movie because is it 15 different scenarios of the same thing?
11.
Sorry, I had
11.
15.
That's
11,
right.
it's 11 different, what will we call them, scenarios of the same moment in time, but every time it happens again, it's either a different perspective from a different character or a different thing happens. And it's a very interesting film. So, Jason, like, how did this come out of your head? Like, what inspired this? This is what I want to know.
Yeah. So it's a couple different things that came together. This was definitely a pandemic movie. Um, and the biggest upside to the pandemic, the biggest lesson that I learned during that time was the value of being present. Because it was such a hard time for so many different reasons that it has been talked about ad nauseum. But the silver lining for me, my family, my friends was the ability to like safely get together and then just find joy in the present. And with that isolation, you're also given a lot of time to like think about things. And at the time, there weren't a lot of multiverse movies. This one has sort of been called Swingers in the Multiverse. And I just started to think about how, I think everyone does this, where they think about how a night could have gone and how many different ways it could have gone. And I started to go down that path of like, okay, a dinner party. How many different ways could a dinner party go? And the whole theme of being present, solving for the best night possible seems kind of like an interesting story. And then it kept going from there. So that was sort of the genesis.
And then Brittany, I wanted to say, you were certainly the flirty thing, if that's the word I want to say in the movie. Um, what was it like playing all the different facets? And what I loved is opening the door every time they open the door to welcome the other couple in, and she says a line about the drinks. I'm laughing each time because it's like it's a torque on each time that you say it. Did you film all those at the same time, every scene?
We did.
Right?
We did. We shot by location. So, we did like 11 in a row of some things or 8 or depending on what the thing was. But all of those scenes went back to back to back. So there was just a lot of like notes or us asking, wait, what is this one? What happens at the end of this one? So it was actually a really fun challenge to find that through line every time of like, okay, this one ends in her, this happens. I won't give the end away to any of them. But it was really fun stepping into Dez's shoes. Yeah, she's certainly flirty, but she's the spicy little thing. And I think that she really commanded the flow of the dinner party and really pushed things forward and was a motivator in the energy and kind of got the juices of everything flowing and set the tone for the party. So I thought she was a really important character. And I thought, I always say this and it's such a weird thing, but like I really pulled from my sacral chakra for her. And that's, if anyone knows anything about your chakras, that's a place that I don't always pull from. Most of my characters come from my heart chakra. And so it was really different for me to be in such a powerful place for a woman, which is, in a very sexual area. You're rooted in your rooted area. So it was a lot of fun.
And Jason, how did you decide to cast Brytni in this role? What was?
Well, it was the casting director Paul Reddy who he suggested her, and I saw her work, and that made it pretty clear. And then it actually happened where we put the Zoom read together for the movie. This was actually it was actually not in the right order. The casting director, Paul Reddy, was putting together a Zoom read of the script that I wrote. I didn't really have an idea of plans to shoot it. It was during COVID. So it was just like, just something to do for fun. When we read it, I mean, Brytni was like, it wasn't that she was the character, she was more than the character. And so like, she actually, the revisions to the draft were like to actually just blow up what she was already like doing. And so it was just like I felt really lucky that she wanted to do the movie. I mean, that was kind of really, it was fortuitous that the Zoom read came together, and it was so good. I'll never forget this, you guys. But like at the end of the Zoom read, I was just like, should we just go shoot it? Like that, it really was so, I was surprised how good it was on the Zoom read. And it was because I was really lucky with the cast was like up for it, and this was not easy to do.
Jacob, you play, well, I think he was the pompous ass of the movie, your character. Would you say that? Or would you agree? Or no?
Yeah, of course.
And you play pompous ass very well.
Charming.
I mean, it's typecasting, obviously.
It's typecasting. So tell me about your, like, in a same thing, like you're filming these scenes over and over again with different versions of what's going on. And he really sticks it to the other guy. Like they're just having this verbal face-off through the entire movie, which I believe is Jason's, writing, because Jason, I know you're very smart. It's a very smart person. And there's a lot of big words going on in the movie, right? Jacob?
Yes. I mean, I was literally the dumbest one out of the 4. And I was the one like saying words wrong or didn't, I was like, wait, what does that even mean?
No, to Jacob's defense, he had some pretty meaty lines.
I was literally in my mouth. I'm sitting next to, Jason. I'm like, these lines, like, how are they getting them out of their mouths?
Well, You know, when you're asking of Jason about, how this all came together, I mean, like Jason called me and he's like, look, we may all die. I'm just going to tell you that because it's COVID and you owe me one and you better get out here to LA to shoot this while we have an opportunity to. No, no, no. I read the script and I was just like, wow, this is pretty heavy and trippy. And I loved everything about it. I was flattered with the offer, and of course I'd known Jason for a long time, and we had been discussing as we had rekindled our friendship not too long before then, and we were discussing doing something together, and it was just the timing worked out really well, and well, it was really well because nothing else was going on, um, but it was just a perfect project for the time, and I just was thrilled to be a part of it and work with Brytni, of course, and Annika and Dominic, everybody. It was just great. I mean, it was a lot of fun, and to be able to do something like that in such a short amount of time, on a limited budget, nonetheless. It's amazing what you can achieve when you put your mind to it, and you have enough people that are willing to see what it could be. And it was a wonderful experience.
I was going to say that too. It's the brilliance in it of not being able to have to shoot in all these different locations, right? You're literally you're in the beautiful house. I know whose house it is. In the beautiful house, and then you're in the house, and then you're in the backyard. I mean, these are the scenes, and then you've got the driveway. You're not having to go everywhere, so it's very much locked in the characters. The character, it's such a character-driven thing, but then this bizarre plot. So
Yeah.
when you were writing this, Jason, did you worry that like the words were going to be too heady for people? Like everybody's spitting back and forth, spitballing the two guys especially. They really get into this verbal sparring, right?
Yeah. So I didn't want it to be heady. I wasn't looking to make like a heady, super smart kind of movie. It really is not that. But the character that Jacob plays is a heady. He's a tech bro. He's like the tech guy that is insecure and constantly trying to resecure his foundation and assert his intelligence by using big words. And the fact that Jacob didn't understand some of them, to me, is actually authentic because it happens so often, and not just in tech, to be fair, but just that kind of a person that he was like portraying.
Like I didn't even remember Donovan's name just now. I just called him like Dominic. I was like, and I'm realizing I totally said the wrong name.
You both did. You and Michael.
Yeah, Michael started it.
I said Donovan. What did I say? Dominic?
Donovan.
Yeah, I know you didn't. I was going to correct
Donovan.
it at some point. It's Donovan. Yeah.
So I just follow everybody's lead. I'm like,
Donovan is great. Great.
Donovan was phenomenal. He was also
he was great.
So anyways, the characters sometimes use big words because they're jousting with words. Even if you don't understand like what absquatulate means, it kind of doesn't matter because Brytni's character follows it up. But there you go with all those stupid big words, and so it uses big words, but then like the movie kind of is undercutting that and being like, get off your high horse, so did I worry about the performances of it? I mean,
beyond the words, like you have some really beautiful theories in that movie that I hate to tell you are so heady and so beautiful and so beyond just one view of the movie. Like it's a movie that you have to watch a few times. Sorry to cut you off, but
no.
Just big words.
Yeah.
That's true. I would have to watch it again, I think, to pick up on some because I'm trying to follow, I'm watching and then I'm like, what are they talking about? No, I got it. I did get it though.
Well, the other thing too is like, with Brytni and Jacob here, like we come from a background where we had the hardest job in acting. I mean, there's no harder job than working on a soap because it's so fast, it's so many pages. So these two have like, I don't know how many thousands of episodes under their belt of working at aggressive pace, doing a lot of work. So I knew when they were on board that we could shoot for the moon with this. And that was really like a necessary component for Donovan or Dominic and Annika. Like they, I think, rose to that challenge because they hadn't worked in soaps before. But as a team, as a 4-person quartet, it was just like everybody just started to push everybody else, and that's where it elevated beyond anything that I wrote. It became theirs, and then it became something magical and special, and you know and that's where like the spirituality came into play, you know, and that doesn't work unless you have like Jacob's character being like this, like trying to be the smartest one, but it's actually like he's the phony baloney, but also hilarious. That's the other thing.
So when I heard the title was For Fun, right? And I hadn't seen the movie before last night. I'm thinking to myself, is this a swingers film? Like, what is really this about? Why is it called For Fun, right? And then when it started, I'm thinking, well, then it's not. And then I'm like, oh, it is. Was that did you want to be? I was like, is that the underbelly of this whole thing? That it is about this open relationship thing to you? Or what, you know?
To me, I wanted to use sex as a weapon and use
Brytni does
sexuality
that
as
very
suspense.
well in the film.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so it was a means to create the suspense for the film. So to use sexuality as a suspense tool, not as exploitive. I mean, spoiler alert: there's no nudity in the movie. But you know, it really was to be used as a suspense tool and something to relate to it, because it's really, the movie is really about being present, but you know, you need to have suspense and the tension between the characters. And you know, I also thought it'd be interesting if, you know, if you were not a swinging couple, to have dinner with a swinging couple who thought that it was obvious that we were all swinging tonight. And you know, so there's just a lot of misunderstandings there that need to get worked out, and you know, we work it out 11 times in the movie.
Oddly enough, that misunderstanding has happened to me a lot in my life. No idea
Seriously?
why.
No. I was gonna say, you know, how many times have we all been in like I've gone to dinner parties with people and it's kind of like that, right? Like you're walking the door, you have to make small chit chat, it's awkward, you know, the food is the big thing, it's pretentious, and that's what I kept relating. I was like, okay, and then they get into it. Did you feel they were pretentious, Brytni and Jacob, your characters?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, he talks about this, you know, this big ass house and, this wine, it's $400 a bottle. And, I mean, like he certainly lays it on thick that he wants everybody to know that he's got money and he doesn't care. He'll use it any way he wants to.
Yeah.
I don't know. For Des, I feel like it's just who she is. Like, of course she stumbled into this situation. Of course she, took it and was able to make it into what she is. She has an apothecary. She sells tea. Like it evolved for her and she made it her own. Like whether she had $1 billion or $1,000, I think either way, like her essence would have been what it was, no matter what. So
Jason, you guys, what would you say was the hardest scene to film?
The dinner scene.
Which one?
Which one? All of them?
I mean, yeah.
Number 4?
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely, I mean, for me, I mean, dialogue wise, it was the dinner scenes. I mean, that was the heaviest dialogue in the script for me. But I mean, as far as it being shot, I can't speak for Jason, obviously, because he was directing, and directing beautifully. So what was the hardest scene for you, Jason?
Yes, Jason.
The hardest scene in that movie was shooting the car stuff, actually, because the movie, just for the folks watching, it's structured where the characters played by Donovan and Annika, are driving to the house that George and Des live in, played by these two here. So it starts off in the car every single time. And the way to do this on a low budget is you shoot during golden hour, except we were doing, I don't know what it was, like probably 15 pages in the car. And so to do a car setup, to like rig a car, it takes a long time. And to reverse it, you can't really reverse a car in time during golden hour because you get like 90 minutes to shoot. So we had to do that over the course of two nights. And like it was incredibly tense because it just all had to go like perfectly. And then on top of it, like what we're talking about here, like the dialogue is really challenging. So like it's really, the actors need to have a chance to work it out too. So those were like really tough moments. And that was the first stuff that we did during when we started the film. We got that in the can first and then proceeded to the house. So yeah, there were a lot of crazy challenges with this.
I wanted to ask about the fight scene with Donovan and Jacob. That
Mhm.
was a Crouching Tiger. I felt it was a nod to Crouching Tiger with the blood and how it was very Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon to me, in a different scale.
Right.
What did you want a bloody, like you made that look of that, right? Like blood spewing.
Yeah, well, it's more for fun, so it had to be a fun fight, for one. But for me, you know, if I haven't been at a lot of parties where I really wanted to jump across the table and punch somebody, but I really wanted to have that seen through in the movie. And since, you know, it's like this jousting with words, you know, at one point it has to come to blows, and so in one of the sequences it does. And you know, Jacob has done a million fights on the shows. Like I had to do a bunch of fights when I was on the shows, like, so I knew that he could do it. We got a great stunt coordinator. Tim did a great job working with these guys, and Donovan was up for it, being a little, you know, getting his ass handed to him, and it came out great. I mean, these guys, I mean, it was fun.
I walked away with some real bruises and some scrapes.
I know you did. I know you did.
I figured you
guys really
must
went for
have.
it.
Right. And then
Yeah, and he has a great ad lib at the end of that fight, which I'm not going to say here, but when you watch the movie, that was Jacob ad libbing. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. It's pretty funny.
And Jacob, what was your favorite part of it, of your character? What was the best part for you that you enjoyed the most?
Oh, you know, I mean, it's hard to just
Pick one
select
memory.
one moment or one scene, but I mean, if I could think of it as a whole, it's truly, you know, the wonderful thing about acting is what you don't realize that you can do until you're really in the moment with your fellow actors. And, you know, suddenly somehow it all starts to just gel and starts to come alive. And there's these like moments, and sometimes they're fleeting and sometimes they're just super present. But anytime that gel happened between all four of us, it was just it was just amazing. So I mean, for me to pinpoint one scene specifically, I mean, I can't do that. It's just there's too many great moments that I would like to choose from, and we'll just have to let everybody watch the movie and they could choose their favorite one.
Now, Jason, will people be able to watch the movie or what's this? Can they see it somewhere?
We'll see how the discussions go with the distributors. But yeah, eventually the movie will be distributed. It's been selectively screened, but we're getting close to a deal that we like. So
Okay,
and
so
once it's done, we will announce
may
it.
be able to see the secret film. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a secret, but
No,
it'll be
I'm not
released.
kidding. It'll be released. It's
There's
great.
there's a trailer on YouTube that
Yes.
people can watch and you know, give you a sense of the movie for now.
So I want to ask all of you, because we have a lot of people with us. I want to ask you, I want to ask Jason first, what do you remember about landing your role as Shawn on Days of Our Lives? If you go back, what do you remember about What happened? How did you get the role? Did you audition?
Uh,
What was this? What story? Is there a story behind it?
I mean, sure, there's a story. I auditioned for Fran Bascom. She was the casting director for Days at the time, and she was one of the few casting directors that was very, very nice to me. I was never a great auditioner, I don't think, but she made me feel really comfortable, nice, and she's said pretty quickly, "You're gonna go straight to a screen test." I remember that screen test. There was 10 people. It was crazy, and the way that they do it in soap world is that you block the entire thing and then you shoot an entire scene, which was different than what I had done for. I was on the Disney Channel before that, and whatever. It was unique, and it was more like just like a dry run at a scene, and how are you going to do? And then I remember when I got the part, I was actually working at a company, like a desk job, and I got the call at work, and I just screamed, and I mean I didn't quit, but I left for the day.
And never
And
returned.
yeah, yeah, I couldn't believe it, because I never really took this business seriously at that point in my life. I thought I was just like, taking a detour, and instead of going off into Europe for a year, I was just going to try acting for a little while. And then, I got that contract when I was 19 years old, and it totally changed my life.
I met Jason at 19, and did you realize at what point did you realize you are the Bo and Hope's son? I mean, that is a big thing in Soapland, and
Yeah.
you were it. So everybody loved Shawn-Douglas because he was the son.
Yeah, my older sister was a fan of the show, so she definitely let me know that I better not mess it up, because I was going to ruin her favorite couple. Um, yeah, she was. I remember she printed out like the family tree, and it was like the most. It looked like a physics diagram. It was like so complicated, like it was really a lot of detail and work went into it. I was just like, I'm not going to get that. I don't think there's a test. So yeah, I
Unbelievable.
was excited.
Jacob,
Yeah.
you came to All My Children um, as JR, and it was just an amazing performance. What do you remember about coming to All My Children?
Well, I didn't have plans to go back to a soap. I had just left a year, 2 years prior from General Hospital. And, my team was like, you got to do movies, you got to do other shows. And in the meantime, I had
You won an Emmy for General Hospital.
yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But I had done the movie The Girl Next Door, and that summer I was, kind of not doing anything. I was really not even showing up to every audition. I wasn't even taking it serious. I was living down in Manhattan Beach, and then Julie Carruthers called me, and she told me that she was taking over as executive producer over at All My Children. And I had no idea what role they were talking about. We sat down and we had some lunch, and she said, "Well, look, I want to bring you on the show, and I'm going to give you the option of playing two characters. So you can play Michael Knight's son, Jamie, or you can play Adam Chandler, David Canary's son, J.R. Chandler." And my mom was a fan of All My Children. I watched All My Children with my mom for years when I was a kid. And so, of course, I mean, it would have been an honor to be the son of either one of those two icons. But of course, I just adored Adam and Stewart. And I thought, wow, what a great opportunity to work with such a versatile actor. And so I decided to literally sell all of my things. I packed a suitcase. I had no apartment. I lived in a hotel for 2 months till my apartment became available in New York. And I literally only knew some of the people. So it was like just starting just a brand new life again. It was weird. It took a while for me to adjust. But I ended up finding a really lovely home with a really talented group. And I've never been on another show that was quite just like that.
David Canary was so incredible to watch and to work with, I'm sure. But I just wanted to say, to point out, similar to Jason, I mean, you were lucky on GH, which is Luke and Laura's son. So like you guys played the sons of the two iconic couples,
Yeah.
which is pretty amazing. So Brytni, you come to General Hospital. Was it Mark Teschner who found you for Valerie, right?
Was.
So what do you
Mhm.
remember about coming there? You're the new girl, and she's a cop, right?
Yeah, she didn't start as a cop though.
Right.
She started as Luke's sister's daughter, long lost daughter. So actually, Jacob and I are cousins.
So it all comes back to Luke Spencer.
It's weird. It's
all
weird movie, but we are.
You're all connected. That's right. You were the long lost. You were the daughter of the sister,
I am Valerie Spencer. Yeah.
Valerie Spencer.
Yeah, so she came on because she was found when Luke was going through his trials and tribulations of kind of losing his mind. And
That was the
she
Luke Fluke story, right? Yeah. Okay.
So, long story short, she tried to kill him uh, for what she called like the reason why her mother died. And then she became a cop.
And then were they starting a same-sex storyline and got aborted?
They were with Lexi and I. And it shifted at some point, and then around that time is when I actually moved on to Elena at YNR. So yeah.
And everybody loves you as Elena. There's so many people like, oh, Elena, Elena. What's happening there? Are you there? We haven't seen her.
I know. Not a lot is happening there for Elena. She just went through a pretty bad breakup, which is par for the course for her. So I think she's been just focusing on medicine. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Jason, what point in your acting did you decide like I want to go, I want to direct, I want to write? Has that always been the case, or at what point?
No, I mean, so I was always writing, even when I was in high school. I actually wrote a script before I started after I got the job on days and quit my desk job. I wrote a script because they said I was going to start working right away, and then it took like 2 months or something before I started. So I was always writing, and then when I was working on the show, I was kind of getting bothered by the fact that there was so much talent, and I felt like it was getting wasted. And I really started, I was kind of like a punk at the time too, but I was just like, I was really like seeing a lot of talent and opportunity wasted with, I mean, there's so much amazing talent on days, in front and behind the camera. And I just felt like, I just wanted them to do more on the show, and they wouldn't let me do it. And so I found another outlet, and I made a short that I'll never forget. One of the lighting directors for Days of Our Lives, Donnie DeSimone, who passed away, he helped me out so much. I remember pulling up in the car to like the back of the stage when I was going to go shoot this short film for the first time, and I thought he was going to give me like a light or two, and he packed my trunk, and then he said, "Open the doors in the back seat," and he just kept putting equipment in my car, and I'm like, "I'm fine. This is good. I just needed a light." He's like, "No, you're going to use it. If I give it to you, you're going to use it," and I did. And there were so many people on that show that were really supportive of me going off and doing this crazy thing, and and eventually when I left the show is because I had sold a script, and you know I really wanted to create the opportunity that I wanted in front of the camera, which, to be fair, I did get it was a wonderful opportunity, so I don't want to sound like I'm not grateful for it, but I wanted to create space, and I wanted to create things for actors that I wanted to have for myself. And For Fun is a perfect example of that. Because Jake and I did know each other from back in the day, and I think it is true. Like he and I both had like a similar kind of heart, working as like super couple's son. And aside of him that I knew that I never saw on camera was like, I thought this guy was freaking hilarious. Like we would go have a beer and like he was, I mean, we'd have a great laugh and just laugh the whole time. And I was just like, dude, why don't you ever do anything funny? And so when this role came up for for Fun, him playing like this douchey tech bro, like I knew that he could deliver on the comedy, and it's also like a side of him that like I don't think he ever had. I hadn't seen you do stuff like that, so I was like, dude, come and play, you know. And similarly for Brytni, like after I got to see her work and then work with her a little bit, I remember. I mean, Brytni, you remember that like where I wrote the end, like the end of your last speech was not there in the first draft, because I think you and I had a talk about chakra, and like that was just fortuitous because the fact that you had that spirituality side to bring to it, like you challenged me, and then I had to like push it back, and so it was like this, back and forth to like make each other better, and she did. I mean, she made me a better director there, and I was trying to push her to do something to elevate what I felt like she could do, and that's the joy of directing for me, is to be able to enable actors to do things and give them a space to work in that I feel doesn't happen very often.
But it's nice
Yeah.
to control your own project, isn't it? I love that myself. Like, you know what I mean? Like I like to like, put it all together, like putting it all. I enjoy the process of putting the elements together. Like I just did the Barbra Streisand tribute for the SAG Awards,
Mhm.
and it was an incredible experience because I had to watch like 40 Barbra Streisand films, watch every moment, and I was literally marking every scene, every look, everything, to deliver to the production group, like what we were going to do. And what I liked about it was putting it, how is it all going to fit together in the moments and what are we going to do? Of course, 85 people weigh in on it. So where you start as yours doesn't really end up in it. But I love having that kind of initial control of it, I guess I would say, creatively.
I mean, I just wanted to. Really my favorite part of doing this, it kind of comes from me playing soccer my whole life, is really the teamwork aspect of it. Really important component on a soccer field is not what you do with the ball, but what you do away from the ball to get open for your teammate. And in a movie, in a show, like you win and you lose together. So every single part of that operation is so
The
important.
collaborative process of it, right?
Yeah, and there was something really beautiful with for Fun where it was during COVID, so it was like high stress. So we had to have a lot of trust with one another, anyways. What we were doing away from the set in order to safely do this together. Um, Even though we had insurance, like no one was really insuring COVID productions properly. So there was a risk to it, and everyone understood that, and it kind of like brought us together. And even with like, we had 3 cameras running similar to a soap, so we had 3 camera operators and our sound people, and I mean it was a really thin production, for a lot of budget reasons, but also because of COVID times. It forced us all to rally together, and these two are so good anyways with the experience of working with all the cameras, but then like them talking to the camera guys about like, hey, make sure you catch this look and this look. I mean, there was so much quick communication happening with all different departments on this thing. It was just this, I'm getting like chills even just thinking about it, because like everyone elevated everyone else, and we were trying to do something very, very hard, and to see it achieved, it's so rewarding for me, and I think for the cast and crew. Like when we first all saw it, I was just like, whoa, like how do we do that? Like even last night I was just like, I don't even want to think about how we pulled it off, because it was just like it was
But I felt what I loved about it is I felt you enjoyed it. Did you enjoy
I
your film?
did.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's the
no, I really
best.
do.
How nice is it for us to a project that's ours or a performance? You know how we're all so critical. It's hard when you're a creative person to enjoy it. Like go like, I'm gonna enjoy this now. It's me in this, or I did this. And sometimes it's hard to do that. And I love that Jason enjoyed it kind of yesterday, I think.
Well, it's sort of like a dinner party where when you make a movie for people, it's like having them over and you're making a meal and you want everybody else to enjoy the meal that you've made. And the audience, it is a good audience movie because I think you can't predict the movie, but it's kind of okay that you can't, so you don't know where it's going, but it's also enjoyable, and it's enjoyable because of the performances. I mean, my wife said this after the Zoom, she's like, this movie is in the looks, not in the dialogue. So as fancy as the dialogue is might get, it really resides in the looks of like the George character saying a big word and the Des character look at him and go like, you're being a pompous ass, but not saying it, but just in the looks. And Brytni is very good with her looks.
Very good.
And then
did Brytni and Jacob, did you know each other?
No, that was the first time we met, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'd seen her in the hall at CBS.
Oh, when you were, yeah.
But we never talked to those people at YNR,
People don't, yeah. But
we have our own studio over here.
So what was your guys' reaction to each other when you first met? And you knew you were going to be playing husband and wife, right?
Oh, I loved it. I loved the idea.
Always great.
I mean, it was, once we did the read, I was like, oh, this is going to be so much fun. Everybody had their perspective, their point of view, their questions, most importantly. And Brytni did have one note at one point that she's like, I don't think I would say this word. Do you remember what that was?
What was it?
Yeah, it was.
Secret word is.
You wrote it, Jason.
Do you remember? It's on. It's gonna take me.
I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember the word.
It was some stupid hipster word. Damn it. now you've done it.
But when you think of it, but anyway, she was like, I don't think my character would say this. And Jason's like, why? It's brilliant.
Because I'm kind of a fan of I was saying this kind of before with even though you write a big word for a character, it's not it's for the character to live and die on, not you. So sometimes it's just uncomfortable to say some certain things, whatever it might be. But no, we didn't say it. I mean, if
no,
did,
and I honestly
would remember it.
I was like, I couldn't imagine her saying that either. So I'm glad she spoke up.
Good for you, whatever it was.
Oh, I'm kidding.
Whatever it was.
But I want to just tell everybody, the movie, the premise of the dinner party is, aren't they getting together to watch a media shower? Isn't that what we're there to do? I mean,
yeah.
They're going to have.
Well, at least that's George's plan.
George's plan is he wants everyone to watch the media shower that's going to come. And there's a twist in it. There's one of them that's so funny because the media shower thing goes wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what I wanted to say, Jason, is then I was like, you're not going to have. And when I said, there's no way there's going to be anything in the sky. And then you pulled that off. So
yeah,
I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Leave it there.
We're not trying to reveal anything.
I'm trying not to ruin it. I was going to say, everybody's asking, Patrick's brother needs to get out of prison on GH, Mad Hunter, which is Jason Cook. So tell me about your time in GH. You're Jason Thompson's brother. Everybody, we've got Lucky, Matt, and Valerie from GH here with us. So,
well, my character's in jail.
Yes.
I don't know what's going on with Lucky. Do you know what's going on with your guys' characters?
Lucky's wandering the route. We don't know where Lucky is. He's not on the show.
He's unlucky right now.
He's unlucky.
Valerie recast, but I don't know what happened with her. I don't know.
Valerie isn't on the canvas. So there you go.
Well, they're all making a movie. It's called Four.
They're all making more. But what was it like at GH? And then you were played Jason's brother, Thompson.
Yeah. GH was fun. That was another situation where it was Brian Franz who brought me over there, and I just told him I didn't want to be I didn't want to do Shawn, and he's like, well, what do you want to do? I'm like,
anything but Shawn.
Well, I said, how can I screw things up around here and shake things up. And we started talking about House, the show House, and I think in soaps like there's a lot of assumption if you're going on that everybody wants to be the hero, and I was like, I don't want to. I'll screw everything up. And then they wrote it in that Matt Hunter burns the hospital down within like 6 months, and I was like really proud about that. I was like, yeah, I went on and burned the hospital down in like 6 months. And then the other part that I loved about that character is so Matt and then his older brother Patrick are like both neurosurgeons. And if you re-sign your contract, you go to Patrick. You see Patrick. And if you don't re-sign your contract, you see my character, because my character was going to kill you every time.
But you're Rick Springfield's other son.
I guess so. Yeah.
But did you ever meet Rick Springfield? You did.
I did. We had, well, I didn't really like, we didn't have much to, I was like unconscious and he was like over my bed, you know, like, I'm so sorry that I don't know you or something like that.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
And they're reminding me, Jacob, Lucky's in Ireland.
Hey, I've been over in Ireland for a while.
He's in Ireland. He hasn't come back.
Why should I?
It's in Ireland.
So when you went to the Bold and Beautiful as Rick, how was that experience for you?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, you know, Rick was, you know, I mean, that was my original first job, right? In daytime,
Right.
which was a really bizarre casting because I was really green and had never professionally had ever auditioned for anything. I had just started that sort of auditioning process. I'd been in lots of theater in school, but nothing like that. And it was pretty apparent when I auditioned, but they liked me. They liked my look or whatever it was. You know, they thought it was a good fit. And so then I did a callback, and then I did another callback with producers and did a reading with Adrienne France. And then they asked if I could go to work with a private coach with her. Maybe it's because I was just so darn nervous the whole time. So we worked on that. And then halfway through that process, they called and said, hey, Adrienne wants to sing on the show. Do you sing? And I'm like, yeah, I sing. I can also use a pogo stick, you know, whatever you want. And so they're like, okay, well, you guys can learn Sonny and Cher song. I was like, oh, okay. So the next thing you know, I do a screen test. It's shirtless. I finished the shirtless screen test and they never give me my shirt back. And they're like, okay, now sing. I'm like, okay, I Got You, Babe was the song. And yeah, after that process was like 6 callbacks, signed the contract. So that was good. And then, you know, after a few years, I left that show and went to General Hospital and so on and so forth. But coming back to Bold and the Beautiful, that was interesting because now I had some real chops under my belt. You know, I had been working for so many years. So, you know, I just felt, you know, I had a much better grasp on developing Rick at that time. And, you know, I think they might have had a couple other ideas about where they want him to be. They wanted him to be very passive. And I was like, no, he's not. He's not going to be passive. He's been held down by his brothers his whole entire life and always fighting for the hierarchy. And I said, this guy is a short. I'm not that short, but I'm, you know, they're all like 6'4" on that show. So I'm like, this guy's a short, you know, scrappy guy, and he's going to fight for what he wants. And that lasted for a little while.
And didn't they have you with Carla Mosley?
Yeah, of course.
I mean, and you were telling a really important story.
Yeah.
She was a transgender character on the show.
That's right. Yeah.
And he fell in love with her. And it was it made a lot of headlines, right?
Yeah, it did. I mean, it was arguably, you know, one of the first trans storylines in television history. And, you know, with a love story. And so, but you know, the funny thing was, apparently this thing was under lock and key for so long and they weren't saying anything and they knew they were going to tell us and tell the story. And Carla was, you know, she had been told, you know, what the storyline was going to be. And like, I was like, why won't you tell me? She's like, they won't let me tell you. And I'm like, well, what? And she's sitting in the makeup chair. And I was like, what are they going to make you trans? Because I was like, in my mind, I'm going like,
Guessed it.
what story has never been told? And because I feel like I played every single kind of storyline in over 2,000 episodes. And I was, and she looked at me and her eyes got big. I was like, I just guessed it, didn't I? And so, of course, then once that came out, I was like, well, we want to make sure we handle this with some, you know, just be, you know, sensitive and make sure that we're educating ourselves on, you know, what's the correct terminology and, you know, and what's this, and you know, I mean, so the president of, you know, different associations that, you know, all came in and we had lots of conversations, and I just wish that they, you know, I felt like they hit the arc of the storyline, they got the effect that they wanted, and then they backed off. And I just think that that's, you know, that's just, I don't know. It's like sometimes, you know, that you play for that, but at the same time, I think it's such a sensitive subject at that time specifically. Now it's like, you know, I mean, I go to these high schools all the time. I'm always visiting different high schools around the country now. And, you know, these kids are like way more open than I ever was in my life, or, you know, or ever saw in my life. You know, there's a big movement of change that's going on. So I just felt like there was a lot more story to play. And unfortunately, they just let that ball of yarn unravel.
I think, Jason, that happens a lot on soaps, to Jacob's point. Like they'll go down a direction of something groundbreaking or big or something, and then they do it, and then sometimes then it peters out. Like they've got it, and then did you find a frustration in working in the soaps, Jason? Or you just were over it? Or I can't hear you.
Oh, you're
Oh,
muted.
yes. Yeah, I did. I mean, I left the show, so I mean, like, I guess it's not like the writing was on the wall. I think it was probably signaled to people like what was going on. Yeah, I was frustrated. Not so much for any like individual story though. I mean, like I understand like they'll try a story and then they feel like it's not working with an audience. At one point they were doing that. And then they would write a story and then I think honestly just forget that they were writing a story. You know, there was just like a lot of nonsensical things that happen on soaps. And by the way, to their credit too, it's incredibly hard to put on, you know, 36 minutes or whatever it was of television every single day. I mean, that's just a lot. That's a lot of content to create, as we say today. They didn't say that back in the day, but like, you know, but it's a lot to produce that, and it's really hard to keep that show moving. That being said, though, yeah, I felt, and I still feel to this day, like I wrote an article in Soap Digest when I went to do the 50th on Days, just about like the potential of soaps, and also, you know, one of the questions that came up for the last, I don't know how many, like a decade or something, is like, all the soaps getting canceled? Are all of them going to go away? And I've always held the position that no, that they will not all go away. All of the networks will retain at least one of them, because soaps offer something more unique than any other genre that's out there. And I stand behind that theory to this day. And what it features is actors. No matter how ridiculous the scenario is, and God knows my characters were in a lot of ridiculous situations, it's about the chemistry that you create with your scene partner or partners. And so if Jacob's telling that trans story, or if Brytni's involved with her, it was like, what is it? It was going to be like a gay story or something that you were talking about. Like it's good that they go and tackle topics, but at the end of the day, it's really about the space for these actors to work. And that's something that soaps have over any other show, purely by the amount of content that they create, purely by the amount of time that you spend with your scene partners. And as long as the soaps create enough space to keep exploiting that, allowing actors to do their thing and let them play, like, they will always exist, because that's that's the advantage of soaps over other genres. Yes, it's soaps have silly stories with extremely convoluted uh, uh, family trees that no one can follow, but soap fans can. They're soap fans, like, soap fans know that stuff, and it's absolutely, you have to be a soap savant. I mean, there are soap savants. I met thousands of them in my times there. It's absolutely unbelievable, and the reverence for it really, to me, even to this day, humbles me and makes me work that much harder outside of the soap world, because I just came into contact with it, and when an audience can connect to characters because of that chemistry, it just brings that importance back to creating that space for actors. Yeah, and not to try and bring that to Four for Fun, but, like, I mean, that's really what Four for Fun is. It was like we were trying to create that space to create the chemistry. I mean, there's a lot of soap know-how stuff that I learned in soaps that enabled us to pull that movie off. And to Brytni and Jacob's credit, and also Donovan and Annika, like, that there was a lot of that, not soapiness, but like the work ethic that is required, that, and I think Four for Fun showcases that. I think that Four for Fun is something that soaps could be, if they just looked at production a little bit differently. But
yeah, that is, they don't look at production differently. It's kind of because I think the churning out of so much material so fast and just having to keep churning it out is,
yeah. I mean, the other thing, like, if there's a lot, I think there's a lot of soap fans watching this. Like, I think there's also, like, a lot of fear from, they're afraid of the shows being canceled, that sort of restricts what they want to try. And I don't know, like, I told this to Ken Corday, like, go out and talk to some more fans, because, like, it's pretty clear, like, they'll follow you if you just take some swings and try some stuff, because the fans, I don't know, soap fans were amazing. And I'm so grateful that that's how I learned how to do this business, because it was humbling from both sides of, like, my dad always called it blue collar TV, because we had to work so damn hard and so many
I've always
crazy
called
hours.
it that too.
Yeah, I mean,
is that true?
Yeah, I've always
I know
called
that.
I've always called it the blue collar world for actors.
Yeah, and I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
I'm proud of that. I'm proud of coming up in that. And but the connection to the audience, to see, like, how you can create this piece of art for them, and how involved that audience can be in it, how symbiotic that relationship can get, is sometimes lost. And I think that's a shame, because, I mean, it's exactly why, like, last night in the theater, Brytni was in there. We've all seen the movie together in other theaters with other audiences. That audience experience is what drives me. It's all, at the end of the day, it's fun and games, and then it's the audience. It belongs to you guys.
Yeah, it's amazing to be there in the audience and watch performances. When you watched yourself, Brytni, yesterday, what'd you think?
Let's see. I think this is like the third time I've seen the movie.
Okay. There were different people there last night.
There were. This was the first time I've actually had, like, family and friends really with me also. So it was actually fun to see everyone else's reaction to me, even because a lot of people haven't seen me in that light. And I like the envelope that was pushed as far as Brytni's characters go, and what Jason was saying about finding that medium of me, bringing something to Des and who she is, and him also pushing me to go beyond what I usually do. So it was really, really beautiful to explore. I love comedy, and being able to play a very grounded person who feels very right in her ways, but it's funny as hell because she's crazy.
I loved seeing you in this, because when you're on Y&R, when Elena, I just see Elena crying all the time. She cries a lot, right?
She does, but I mean,
but I get why she cries.
Yeah, that's
what every reason to cry, right? But is that hard for you to cry, by the way?
Not at all.
Yeah, you're a good crier.
I'm a good crier.
So, right, but does it get draining to cry all the time, or you're like fine with it?
No, I'm okay with it.
Okay.
For me, it's like, so for me, for acting, I'm fairly shy actually. So to be able to expose myself front and center, it takes me to be another character. So to even have the guts to get all of those emotions out, to be able to cry in public. Brytni myself is very hard to cry. Like it's very hard for anyone to see me crying, but to see me in any character crying, it's pretty simple because that's, I don't know, it's a step away from who I am. And that's part of my art is my therapy.
Hey, Jason, did you ever see her cry on Y&R?
Beautiful. No, but had I known this before, we maybe would have added a 12th segment to Four for Fun.
I'll say where she's really crying.
I had a cry at the end of one of those
She
where
had a
something
cry,
happened.
but I mean,
Oh, I wasn't gonna mention that one.
says.
Yeah.
Yeah, but to your point, like as somebody who, knows the soap operas too, it's great seeing the actors we love in different roles. That's what I think is great about Four for Fun too, getting the opportunity to see Jacob and Brytni in a completely different thing. We're not seeing them, exactly how we've seen them necessarily before, which is a great opportunity in the script, right? So, will you cast
I mean,
actors in your films?
Say that again.
Will you cast other soap actors in your films, you think, or?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, like I will say, like there is like I think still today a stigma in the business if you've worked on a soap about that, and it's just it's so ignorant. So I sadly think that still does exist. I mean, it'll never exist for me. I mean, I come from that world, and it's there. I don't want to like get too into like why that whole thing is. It's a whole long conversation for maybe another show. But like, no, I will always. There's actually some actors that I've worked with that I have like dream movies for them. So like, Drake Hogeston. I have a part for him. I mean, we got to put that guy in a base. We got to put that guy in a baseball movie.
A baseball
movie,
movie,
Michael.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say,
Yeah.
You and Kirsten Storms, Belle and Sean were so big back then. What was that like being part of that huge? And this is to either any of you as well, when you were coupled with somebody, because Belle and Sean were hugely popular. Was that impeding your personal life? Was it weird?
My personal life?
Like was it, or did you enjoy the fame of?
No, not that either. No. Yeah.
It doesn't have an Instagram.
He doesn't have an Instagram, and you can't even find any like current
This
photos.
is the problem. I wanted to go.
He's
Hey,
literally
Jason.
crawled into a writer's cave.
Yeah, and I like my cave.
Yes,
like it.
Jacob, I'm wondering, is he the
Cozy.
smartest of all of us because he doesn't have Instagram?
I think he thinks he is, but he hasn't
I
quite
think
caught on yet.
I think that I am. Yeah, that's an important caveat there.
Oh my gosh. All right. Yeah. So was there a coupling for you? Like Jason had Kirsten Storms, it was Belle and Sean. So for you, Jacob, who was the defining leading lady for you?
Well, the defining, I mean, I think the one that I became most known for was on All My Children. It was Babe and JR.
Babe and JR.
And I mean, that show had I don't even think it had ever aired in France. And that got sold as soon as that story kicked off to France for a few years at least. And it just had some sort of appeal. Girl from the wrong side of the tracks, was poor, humble upbringings. And then, of course, it's the rags to riches story. We were just talking about this the other day. Arcs. Yep. The rags to riches. And so I think a lot of people related to Babe and that. And so that one was, I think, yeah, that was probably the one that would be.
Was Alexa Havens there first, right?
We got hired at the same time. In fact, I was kind of, it was funny going back when Julie asked me to choose whatever character, the network said, well, we want you to come out and screen test. I said, I'm not screen testing. I'm not doing it. And they're like, well, can you at least, they're like, but it's my manager's on the phone. He's like, well, you have to do it. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do it. If they want me to screen test my love interest, I'll screen test her and I'll tell them which one I like the most. I know.
Okay, so you picked.
And so I went through a bunch of them, and I don't know, something about she could cry on cue, like, and she was crying in the audition.
Every minute on that show.
Yeah, she was dropping buckets of tears, and so I was like, if she can do that, I'm sure she can do a lot of other things. And so she got hired. Same thing happened, when they wanted to bring in a new love interest into a triangle, and they wanted to go with this, like they were casting for this role, and they wanted to go with this other girl, and one of the girls was Chriselle Staus, and I was like, this girl's gonna have something one day. I have a feeling she's gonna get famous for something, and you guys better. And Julie's like, yeah, I don't know, we don't really like her. And then they hired her, and she got her start. So I mean, yeah, I mean, I think just my time on All My Children in general. I'm working with Alicia Minshew, and of course Missy Claire Egan, and just everybody. I had just great storylines with all of them.
And then Brytni, so you had Brighton, you had Devon, and you had Sean Dominic as Nate. So what would you say about
I think, well, no one likes Nate and Elena together. Like that. But yeah, Elevon, was it? Devon and Elena was actually a really huge hit, which was just a really big blossoming for that character for Elena. She came in to be the support for Devon's character, but I think how well their chemistry was really catapulted my character quite a bit. So it was really special. And then, Brighton and I, even to today, are like some of the best of friends, and he's just a special human. So beyond the chemistry of the characters, I think that was a very special pairing.
So Jason, in wrapping up, so we might see you act again in front of the camera, or you're gonna win an Oscar for directing and writing.
Those are the only two options.
Producing, acting. Should I give you more? Multi-hyphenate?
I mean, I'm not. I've got my hands full with the writing, the directing, and have for a long time. So, I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm not going to ever act again. I mean, if the right part comes along, I guess. I'm not actively trying to make that my career, though. It is. I do like it, and there's times where I miss it. I miss it. To me, acting was always like going and playing music, and it's kind of like you go and you jam with a band, or you jam with doing a duet or a trio or something like that. And I miss that. I miss playing the music. But I don't miss it as much as the writing and the directing and the producing. Like I also I more so enjoy creating the space and the mechanism, for others to do that and set them up for success. I think I'm better at it too. I mean, I liked acting, but I'm a better writer and director, I think.
It's an incredible writer. He really is. Like, you miss so much because it's For Fun is a visual movie, but to even just read the script, like, I hope it like somehow finds its way around so people can really. It's so beautiful.
It's a great film.
Thanks for
It's
saying that. I appreciate it.
It's a clever film too. Like, I, as the audience I'd never seen it, and I'm like, what's going on? And then every time it would start a new, vignette or another alternate version or ending, or I was like, oh, it was very clever. It's like, oh, and through the ways each of those ended, you got kind of a lift in the story. You're like, oh my God, there's like oh my God moments, in it as well, which I really like. The fans, before we go, they're all just saying, we miss you. We love Brytni on YNR, miss you on TV, Jacob. Love you on Young and the Restless. Miss you on GH. All of you. So, you
Well,
have
I could tell you an exclusive. If you
okay.
Tell us.
so, I'm flying at the end of the month to Prague to direct, produce, and star in a film with Joan Collins, a murder mystery. Also, Nadia Bjorlin is in it. Toby Alexander Smith from EastEnders, and then a couple of my Broadway friends and a very well-known Czech actress. So that has not come out yet, but it's all on IMDb, and our start dates are April 1st.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Do we have a name of the project?
Murder Between Friends.
Oh, love it.
It's very Agatha Christie, sort of Knives Out, without having $100 million to shoot it, but still a lovely film nonetheless.
That's exciting.
Yeah,
How long will you be there? You're
through
never coming back.
April 17th.
Okay.
So arrived the 24th, some pre-production, some B-roll before April 1st, and then April 1st principal starts.
Amazing. See, everybody's doing other things. All right. Well, Jason, you're going to keep us abreast of when and how fans can eventually see For Fun.
Yes, we'll do.
Please do.
On their Instagrams.
On various not his own. It was so great to see you, Jason. It was wonderful to see you. I know it's been a while. So congratulations.
Yeah, it was great to see you, Michael. It has been a long time. Yeah, thank you so much.
Brytni, love seeing you. So nice to see you. Wonderful. Jacob, always a pleasure.
It was great seeing you, Michael. And of course, Brytni, catching up. And we're so proud of Jason.
So proud of Jason.
Such a wonderful artist.
Yes, amazing. All right, guys. That's great.
You did that. Do it
You
again.
didn't? It's amazing. Have a great night. Thank you for spending some time tonight.